only way to start your day.
Into all of it. Because the education system, we've looked at it for a minute, it's for a while now, and there's some things that are not going according to plan. Universities are telling us that if things are not paid, we will go on strike. That's interesting, because over the weekend, about, what was the calculation? How about 100 million shillings was spent?
Okay, officials got more than 10,000.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So, look at Janice. So, 10,000 teachers or so got about 10,000 bob each. So, about 100 million shillings at that level. And then beyond that, some more money was spent. It does to you what it does when you suck on a lemon. You feel a bit sour in the mouth when you hear about it. And when staff unions at the university are saying, you know what? If we're not paid, we're going to go on strike. That forms the basis of our conversation this hour, because then we're looking at other deepening issues. But before we do that, I want to tell you a proverb that comes from the people of Benin. Our two other guests have already been able, Janet and Mwalimu have been able to give us their opinion about that. I would like to hear how you would interpret this before we continue. The people of Benin say that the thing which is in your belly the thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. The thing that is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. How would you interpret that?
Wow, that's interesting. And I think that connects very well with, of course, what you've just said today, what is happening in our country. We are crying, but what you can see moving around is something different from what we could expect. We are crying in education sector, but you can see there are things that are happening. So I think that our wisdom connects to exactly what is happening in our country right now. And I think exactly what is in your belly is what is in your heart. Wow. I think then it means what we have is exactly what we are thinking. And I would also say that that also connects to what do we exactly give priority. And especially in this case, in our education sector.
Absolutely.
What comes first? And I think maybe we might be getting our priorities wrong, because I think there are things that we're doing which seems not to be going right, especially in our sector.
Okay. So, as you've said that, I mean, it's a great interpretation and just looking at that. But there's looking at stories that are being carried today of conversations that have been had for some time. A couple of months ago, we saw that the unions were going to, at the university level, were going to go on strike. There was a conversation that was had and everybody said, okay, fine, let's give it some time and see what's going to happen. Well, it seems that varsity dons are set to paralyze learning over salary arrears. That's happening within universities. But then if you look at what's happening money coming into the universities, we've asked to ask the question in terms of what's going on. The arrears comprise of 2.73 billion shillings from phase 2 of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement that was due in July. So we say 2 months ago, it was due in July. Sure. They said, okay, let's give it some months. And also the 8.8 billion shillings outstanding from the 2017 to 2021 CBA. Correct. According to Constantine Wasonga, he said, the strike is on. We are downing our tools come midnight tomorrow, that's today, as no intervention by the government has been forthcoming concerning our demands. He's your Secretary General, and he said, you know what, this is what we are doing. And we said, and I remember, because they sang the songs of Solidarity Forever in July and said that we are actually going on strike. They had a conversation. After that, the conversation now has come to the place where we are in September, and you as the organizing secretary are echoing the words of the Secretary General, who is saying, yes, we're going on strike. I want to connect this directly to what happened at State House over the weekend. There was a 10-point, I don't want to call it an agenda, but there was a 10-point, maybe Mwalimu can explain. Yes, there were 10 points. And one of them was reducing the time frame of the CBAs. They're currently at 4 years. The president said, you know what, this takes too long. Why should we take so long to figure things out? Let's make it 2-3 years, and has tasked the unions. And I don't know, WAS was not there because maybe now we're dealing with, higher education. But in general, the principle is we're going to reduce the number of years within which this collective bargaining agreement can be lived out. It is on the back of a CBA that this strike that's going on from today is happening. that the 2017-2021 CBA, whether it was 4 years, 10 years, that has not been honored. We're in another CBA right now, still has not been honored. We're looking at almost 10 billion shillings in arrears on those CBAs. And this is where we are today. But there were folks at State House who got 100 million shillings on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, officials like you.
So is the strike because we know there is money and you're not paying us, or because we've given you enough time and you've not been able to fulfill your promises in that time?
Thank you. Of course, we know there's money, and we're saying there's money, and we know there's money. But that's not why we're going on strike, because money will always be there. The reason why we're going on strike is because we are running out of patience, as you have correctly put it. The arrears that we are talking about dates back to 2017, surely. We have waited for this money since 2017. Nothing is happening. Just last year, we went on strike twice for the 2021-2025 National CBA. We signed the return to work formula. We managed to bring an interministerial committee together, compromising the CS Education, CS Live, and their peers. And we all agreed that they are going to pay us, they paid us part of the money. Then the other one, they said, look, we don't have money. We can only pay it in three payments. And we said that was okay. So they paid the first one. The second phase was to come on July 1st. July 1st came. They have just told us that it was factored in the budget of the financial year 2020, the last financial year. And therefore, we expected to receive the money. 3 months down the line, they're only saying next month, we are talking to the Treasury. Next week, we have this letter, and we're saying enough is enough. So from midnight, we are going on strike. And this strike is unstoppable. Either we get the money or the world come to an end.
But schools are opening. Schools have this is September. Universities are opening.
Yes.
This next week.
Yes.
But no.
What you will understand is that we as lecturers, professors, we also parents. We also have our kids. We are also expecting to pay fees. Where are we going to get the fees to pay for our kids if the government is not paying us? So even as we talk about kids coming, we are also parents. Our kids are also there. We are expected to pay fees. So pay us our money so that we can also get money to pay school fees for our kids.
But so that perhaps we can understand as Kenyans the extent of unfulfillment that you're experiencing. And dues should be paid. A promise is a debt, but now a promise is a comfort to a fool when it comes to the teachers and the 10 promises. Wow. What is the last promise that you got on the payment?
And who promised? I'm keen on who promised.
And who promised?
Who promised you?
Who promised?
Yes.
Well, the promise was done on a return to work formula. It is a signed agreement deposited in court that is going to be paid in 3 tranches. So they paid the first one. The second one was supposed to be paid on 1st of July this year. It's a document that is signed in
Which
CBA
year?
This year. That is 3 months ago. It's a signed document. That is a legal document. It is in court. We signed with them. And we registered the document in court. And therefore, when, before July, we went to them and said to the PS, July is coming,
yes.
You have our money. And they said, no problem, it has already been factored in the budget, so the money is coming. So come July, they said, we've written a letter to the Treasury, we've given authority to spend, we are giving you the money. The story goes round and round and round. And
hang on there.
Okay.
So
because this is a promise that was made.
Right.
And by the time the promise was being made, the money was not in the budget. You were told that the money will be factored in the budget.
Yes.
So, Mwalimu, you also went in.
Yes.
And you were told that the money will be factored
Yes.
in the budget. So if someone has a problem fulfilling promises that they have already made, like this one in particular, why are you getting the energy to promise even more? Because I'm imagining the teachers are tenfold what the lecturers are.
Yeah.
So where is the background? Where is the president coming from? But even imagine these teachers were not only promised, they were also told, even that CBA, we cannot implement it in 4 years. It's too long. Why can't we shorten it? So the president knows that there is money. But where is the money going? 200 million every day must be spent on handouts. So he's actually right by promising. He knows that there is money. Our problem is, and where we must be buttressing and really asking, are we using the money that we have in systemic issues. Like, for example, when someone is denying you your salary, someone walked away with 10,000 in cash to go and feel nice and appropriate, it to some political capital for somebody. So I agree with you, absolutely, that in this country, we have got the money. The same energy that was used to promise you money, we want to see the same energy being used to fulfill those promises. Because before you know it, the teachers will also fall in line, asking also for the promises that they were made. Unfortunately, Kenyans are not able to ask, where is the 300 shillings gas that you also told us that you will give us? If everybody was to line up and ask the president what they promised, he would be bankrupt today.
Surprising, it's not just the promises. In fact, even salaries, you realize that in public universities, their salaries come very late. Others don't get their salaries. Others have been getting their salaries paid 50% of their salaries because the government is not able to pay our salaries in full. Very few universities are right now able to pay, the gross salary. They pay the net, and therefore the bank deductions, SACCO deductions are not paid.
Why? Where? Because what's the reason for this?
Because the government is currently or has been underfunding universities, and therefore the capitation that comes to the universities cannot sustain the wage bill for the universities. And therefore, they can only pay as the net, and they cannot pay as the gross. And therefore, you end up having lecturers being, blacklisted in a financial institution. They cannot get loans because their loans have not been remitted to the banks.
I struggle.
And the pension schemes have almost collapsed, the universities, because the universities are not remitting the pension deductions.
I hear you, Mr. Maluki. And I struggle to understand the predicament you are in. Because earlier on, we are with PS education.
Yes.
And they talk about planning. And we raised the question about the unit cost of training or teaching a student. So it is known, you're going to pay a lecturer, you need this equipment, supporting infrastructure and all that. So it is budgeted and money is allocated. So how do we end up with arrears that are accumulating to billions and spreading over to the next financial year? And yet you are unionized. Every time you come out to the street, you have the return to work formula. Then a financial budget comes up and money is allocated. So I struggle to understand from when it comes to policy formulation of our education system, where do you converge all the stakeholders to ensure that not just the physical planning of infrastructure, but also the budgeting of the same is streamlined?
From what I have got to understand in my few interactions with our mother ministry, Minister of Education, the CEs and the PS, we usually have regular meetings. It is one thing to plan, it is another thing to actualize. What they say, we planned, we budgeted, the budget was passed by the parliament, but now they say, well, we're writing to the treasury must give us authority, but we ask the same question. We planned for the money was budgeted, the budget was approved, so where is the money? That is the big question now. So yes, the planning they will do, we will talk about the planning is there, but now I think the act of getting the actual money becomes a problem.
Okay. Janet, you were a CEC, Education, Nairobi County, and just looking at how things happen and what is supposed to be handled at the county level. Usually for us to understand what happens at a macro, we see what happens at the micro. So we know that counties are responsible for ECD education. That's taken care of at the county, and then now are the implementation bodies for some elements of education coming in, trickling in from the national level, some. What is the rationale that is applied? Because now we can see. What is the rationale that is applied when money that is meant for a certain thing doesn't come through? When you ask the questions and saying, okay, we have these that need to be filled. We have striking teachers. We have, we don't have infrastructure. We've not built a school in 14 years, whatever. What's the rationale that comes from the payer to say, this is the reason why you've not been able to do it?
That's a very good question. In taxpayers, sometimes you look at taxpayers, especially when you sit at those high tables, and you really pity people who are expecting services. And because this is what happens, it's very clear that budgets have even been passed by the assembly, like for an example. And you know, when budgets are passed by assembly, it's sort of law, you know, and you're expecting that be adhered to. And then the various sectors will start carrying out the activities and requisitioning for the funds. But most government operations have been centralized for a purpose, that all these requisitions will meet at one place. Then that is where interests come in. That this is mine because I have a cut here, this is mine because I have a cut here, this is mine because I have a cut here. So you will find that things which were not even priority, and even like something is happening in Nairobi, in the county of Nairobi. The money that were requisitioned from the controller of budget say they were supposed to be for budget. So the controller of budget is releasing that money as though it is money meant for bursary. But when the money gets to the county government, they use it for a different purpose. Those are some of the issues, because they're hiding under cash flow issues. But even if we are hiding under cash flow issues, every sector, therefore, is supposed to share this burden of cash flow constraints. But here is a situation where some spaces are thriving. Like, for example, the empowerment program, there is nothing that is as thriving as the empowerment programs. So you'd wonder if all of us are suffering cash flows. Why are certain spaces, why are stadiums? You have seen how stadiums are sprouting from every corner. Why are stadiums not feeling the wrath of, limited cash flows, like the health sector is feeling, like the lecturers are feeling it? And all that boils to indiscipline, it boils to non-accountability, it boils to people benefiting from the resource envelope that is meant to benefit, all of us. So that a certain section will be entertained by a narrative of, there is no money, so we have to, do this and do that. Yet another sector is basking. It's basking in money. I am yet to see a member of parliament, or the parliament, like for an example, explaining to us, where is this money coming from? Even if I don't have any other data, but the meetings that have been splashed today on this particular newspaper and the amounts of money, even when people say that the 100 million is what was spent on teachers, no, it was not. Because of other logistics, I'm told there was breakfast and so on and so forth. So give or take, give or take, 200 million is being splashed. What is the source? What is the source of this money? And why are some sectors thriving while other critical sectors, like for example, Kenyans that have worked, Kenyans that have even been deducted, that the money that they are receiving is not even in gross. They've already been deducted to go to those houses that the president is today dishing out to people.
I want to just support you and say this. As much as we blame government and sometimes some of our policymakers, our unions, he is one of the union leaders. I've been a union leader. The weakest link in the whole structure are normally our unions. Our unions are very weak. How many times have we seen UASU, NAT, KUPPET, call them the doctors' unions, all of them. They reach a place, they make noise. He has said, this is going to be the mother of all strikes. We will never have seen a strike like this one we're going to see. But I can tell you, most of it is normally hot air. Because at the end of the day, government and the president and people in power know how to sit with them. Don't only blame us, the 10,000 who went to State House. Our officials have been the weakest link in the whole thing called labor sector. During our State House visit, the president told us in the face, your union leader, boss, Papa Francis Atwoli, is my friend and very close friend of mine. Atwoli had taken to court this issue about NSSF and SHA, and that's why we could not move forward. When I took over government, I called Atwoli to State House. We made friendship, and Atwoli went and withdrew the case. And now we are able to start off with the affordable housing. We are now able to take off with NSSF deductions. In other words, what the president was trying to say, for anybody who can analyze the situation, I was able to speak to the unions. If I can get the judge, why deal with lawyers? These union officials, and I'm sorry, brother, and I'm speaking with a lot of respect to you, and I'm saying I'm also one of them. The government knows how to work with you and deal with you. Don't imagine any threats you'll make about going on strike will work. in the next 3, 4, 5 days, this strike will fizzle out. They'll say we have now a return to work formula. We now are going to go and do our work back at the colleges. All lecturers report to your college by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Then you ask yourself, what happened? What happened? And then finally, again, after a few days, he'll come here and say, they made promises to us, they've not fulfilled them, we are back on the streets.
And if you don't return to work, you have to show cause. That's the infamous now that is coming.
Yes.
But let me ask you, because I'm glad we are hosting the most unionized people.
Yeah.
How is Francis Atwoli still a union leader in this country?
Yeah, Francis Atwoli has the experience. You see, I've worked with Francis Atwoli. Janet, please allow me to say this. Don't interrupt, please. Francis Atwoli has
And
the
Kenyans are listening.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I know they are listening.
Okay.
Atwoli has the experience in labor matters. Labor matters is not a political party. Like KOTU is not a political party. A labor union must work with the government of the day. Even him as WASU, he must work with his employer. The biggest employer in any country is the government. So this government employs most of Francis Atwoli's members. So if Atwoli has to work for these workers, he has to bargain with his government, the government in power of the day. So when Atwoli goes to bed, say with the government that's in power today, it's not because he wants to go to bed. He has a job to do, and that job is to bargain for these workers, who most of them are government employees. You cannot fight this very government that has employed most of your members. That's number one. Number two, age in labor union is just but a number. I can say it here very confidently. Most of our leaders in the labor movement globally, and Atwoli is not just a Kenyan leader in labor. Atwoli has been elected globally several times. Even right now, he's the deputy president at ILO globally. I want to say that it's not about age. It's about the skills to negotiate and bargain.
Thank you, Malim. But as Janet comes in, and it's sad to me personally that you are glorifying what I would call incompetence. Because if indeed KOTU is this magnificent, wonderfully made and led union by one Francis Atwoli, why are we having all these crises? Why are the WASU people going on strike? Why then? Because we believe leadership or people who are in office, in any office, are a reflection of that constituency that has put them there.
Yeah.
Are you saying the creme de la creme of teachers, of unions, is Francis Atwoli? Janet?
No, it's a big indictment, really.
Allow me to correct that. Atwoli, we are not affiliated to KOTU. Now in Kenya we have two, centers. There's the TUC, which is the Trade Union Congress, then the KOTU. KOTU represents, workers that are not public workers. So our Njuakali and all that. But when we come to unions...
Teachers, we are also part of it. Kupet and Nat, we are in KOTU.
You are the only one. There's a story about that, but it's okay. So all the others, all the other public workers in trade unions in public service, they are under the Trade Congress Union. So we are not affiliated to KOTU. And I will think that just coming to your question, I want to assure you and to assure Kenyans, among the unions that have been left standing in this country is WASU. WASU has never ever been compromised by anybody, and I want to assure you we shall never ever be compromised. I've been the national organizing secretary. I'm in charge of the strikes, and this one I'm going to assure you it is going to bite like never before. We are not going to be called to any office. Even if we are called anywhere, we will not go. For the years I've sat as a national organizing secretary, I can assure you no one has ever compromised WASU, and we will never give in. Every time we go on strike, we must deliver something to our members. The last time we went on strike, we got the highest ever salary increase. We got 9%. 9.7 billion. And that is, we got half of that, and they said, well, half of it you'll get next year. Because in negotiation, you may not get everything. They say, yes, we have agreed to pay you 9.7, but we don't have the entire money. Let us pay you half. If they say, okay, just give us what we have. So I agree, and without mentioning names, there might be, unions that are compromised. They may not do much, but I want to assure you, and even our members, we will not give in. Every time WASU goes on strike, we must deliver to our members. This one, it is either money or the world comes to an end. The strike is beginning tomorrow.
We have had this before.
Yes.
I just listened to how Mwalimu here poured accolades at senior Atwoli, and I have no personal problems, but I would, maybe I'm just thinking in my mind, are the workers happy with the SHA issues? It's a yes or no. Are the workers happy with the housing deductions and the overtaxation? So what other indictment can it be that workers of this country are grappling? And what is your position as they call him veteran and so on and so forth? But I think there has to come, mediocrity has to come to an end, and things have to be called out as they are. I think generally Atwoli has been a big letdown. And there's a place of experience, and we really do respect the place of experience. But I think there's also the place of fresh thinking, which is lacking. And the workers that you represent, does he think that he represents the workers his age? And the answer is no. The struggles of the modern day worker, he does not know those struggles. And possibly that is why it's very easy for the president to be saying, I called Atwoli. When will it stop being about individuals and it becomes about the institution? I liked what I was seeing at the Law Society of Kenya when people were telling Wakili Faith, yes. It is not about you. It is about the position that as a society we take. It's about the integrity of the institution. And when you see people replacing Kotu with Atwoli, and the infamous purple billboards around, that instead of even painting a message, sensitizing your workers about a certain policy of government, you post your body, as the billboard. It tells you really, really a lot. And I know that sometimes in elective politics, just like we say, that we may want so much to remove, like for example, a sitting president, but he controls certain infrastructure that really threaten people. Probably that is what Atwoli is taking advantage of. And I know anybody and any government, we have seen governments that have removed workers. We have seen if the president or if the modern government decided that we really want to mobilize, or we really want unions that are strong, unions that will advance policy, because unions do not only exist to compete with government. No, unions are actually think tanks. Unions are think tanks. Yes. The best practices, unions are the ones who are supposed to be bringing forth. Yeah. And that's when I hear that, unions cannot do much because they depend on government, I am like, go to Europe. Unions we have very strong unions in this country. But in Europe, unions have made money. They have invested. Yeah. They don't depend on government. Yes. What happens to us? Are we criticizing government and we are suffering the same fate as government, that when we get money, we brandish it? Unionists are also living very posh and expensive lives. Right. They cannot be pointing fingers at others, and their teachers who they are collecting dues from are not living the same kind of life. Yes. I think there's a problem with Africa. When people get money, they don't think about structures. They don't think about improving. They just think about how much of this can belong to myself and my village and my people. And tomorrow we'll take care of ourselves. And that is why we will always have unions that are complaining. But then I think again also, as WASU, the unions for universities, there's a conversation that this government is not able to lead, which is, it is an accountability conversation in our higher education institutions. And there's a conversation that has to happen about the workers in our institutions. I am not convinced that we need the workers that we have in the universities at current.
Why? Too many?
I served,
or not?
Yes, and I served in the task force, this presidential working party that proudly reduced school fees and told the president, those ideas you're having about higher education, please, they're just ideas. Practically, shelf that. Yeah. Proudly, I served in that task force. And one of the times I asked, Can I get data about the number of teachers in Kenyatta University, lecturers in Kenyatta University, for an example? Nobody. And we were sitting there even with representatives of vice chancellors. Nobody knows how many lecturers are teaching in Kenyatta University.
Nobody knows, or nobody wants to tell. No, hang on.
For me, I don't know whether they want to tell, but I take it that they don't know. Where is the place of data? Like, for example, who knows if universities like Daystar, like for example, are able to know a child came in, they logged in, a lecturer logged in. So it's easy to know that this and this. So there are several issues. I do not agree, for an example, that the University of Nairobi, for example, University of Nairobi is our best.
Yeah.
If your income per year is 9.8 billion Kenya shillings, I refuse that you spend 9.6 on staff. Because that is what is happening.
Yeah.
Why are we not running universities like viable economic institutions? Why are we not running universities like other institutions? Do we actually need all the people that we have? I was speaking to a sitting minister right now, and I'm not going to mention their name, and they told me, I did BCom. I did BCom too. And they quoted a case that I didn't do when I was doing my my management course. But I'm doing it now when I'm doing my law degree. And I asked him, why he told me our BCom was very deep. And I can tell you, when I went next to do BCom, and the person who is doing BCom now, they are not doing the same thing. Because the universities divided those things into very small things. Is it to create room for lecturers, or what is it? What was called BCom now has been split to Bachelor of Business, BBI, BBT, what? And so much. Do we need to have a conversation? Honestly, if your income is 9.8 billion Kenya shillings, you cannot spend 9.6 paying staff. And that is the uncomfortable conversation that William Ruto is not ready to lead. He is just scratching the surface because he does not want to step on this toe. He wants to be popular. He wants to be Father Christmas having ice creams. We must have uncomfortable conversations about our universities and how they are managed.
But we can't blame the president
sustainable
on everything here now again. You see, as much as yes, you've raised very genuine issues, which I think the university academic staff need to know, and which actually is their biggest problem. It's about accountability and management at the universities. The universities have actually almost have failed when it comes to management, in terms of money, in terms of human resource. All that actually we can just say it very confidently, they have failed. But we can't blame that on Ruto only. It's actually to do with us. There is a wiring that we Kenyans have, including you, Mr. Professor, and many of us. We have a problem with accountability. We have a problem with taking responsibility. We always have a way of looking for a way to scapegoats and blaming somebody for it. We at the universities and we in the education sector, we also need to deal with our affairs as education stakeholders.
Can I segue from that to ask a question then for Maluki? Because this is one of the issues that we started off with this conversation at about 7 a.m. this morning. We're looking at a collective debt of universities, and these are public universities, of course, collective debt of about 80 billion shillings. The University of Nairobi on its own has a debt of 13.26 billion.
That did what?
So this is the question. That money could have been very easily flowing into this ecosystem that is now saying they don't have enough money to pay
lecturers,
academic staff. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So where did this money go? For example, money is owed to KRA to the tune of 4 billion shillings. There are arrears of 78 billion shillings. There are 800 million shilling staff arrears. This kind of money that would have made a way into the infrastructural ecosystem of universities as not. Let's not even talk about Moore University, because it's got the paddles on the chest and we're not sure if the heart is going to start beating again, despite what we are told. So, is there a responsibility that universities have on their own, exchequer aside, to manage things so that even if the money is flowing in, we don't have these problems all the time saying, okay, well, people haven't sent money, so everything's going to go to a standstill?
Well, thank you. I think the conversation is right. We have an issue with accountability in universities, as my colleague has said. And I think that comes to what you're talking about, having that money maybe just being around the university. One of the key things we have is that you'll agree with me that vice chancellors are political appointees. And when they go for the interview in Public Service Commission, I can assure you the number one person is never picked as the VC. I know places where the number 5 of the number 6 or the number 10 becomes the vice chancellor. So the interviews that are done for the vice chancellor are just for PR because the number 1 is never picked. So the person who is picked is the person who has the right connections with the right people. And therefore, when you become a political appointee, you'll agree with me that you has the power to hire, has the power to fire. So the person who has hired you, you must lay, or you must exactly. That is where your loyalty becomes. And therefore, when there are issues in the university, you run to your godfather, say, oh, this and this is happening. And that is why you see there are all those, leadership rankers in the universities. Coming to the question that my colleagues was asking about knowing the number of lecturers, I want to tell you because of the political interference. You will love that a university is supposed to be an academic institution, and therefore everything should be about academic. Now, the ratio is supposed to be 7 academic staff to 3 non-teaching staff, because the non-teaching staff are supporting staff that are supposed to support the academic activity. But I want to assure you, in almost all the universities, it is the opposite, where you are going to have 3 teaching staff and over 10 non-teaching staff, because when I put you into that university X, you must employ 100 of my people. Then the local leaders come and says, employ this one for me. The other one comes and says, employ this one for me. Of course, the easier people to employ are not the academic, because in the academic, you must have the papers. And therefore, you float the wage bill with so many workers that may not be relevant. And therefore, one of the time when we were doing our audit for the national CBA, there was a certain university who could not account for over 2,000 workers. And when we took those names out of the payroll, that university has never complained. We keep asking. Maesji Wasonga keeps asking this university, so why didn't you complain when we took away your 2,000 workers? Why were they in the payroll? So sometimes they may not know, not because they don't know, but because it works for their benefit. And because it works for their benefit, they may not tell you how many workers they have. And therefore, that is the situation where we are. But I want to tell you, it is not just about the issues of money. In the universities nowadays, the situation is very pathetic. The BCom that you're doing, when I was doing my undergraduate economics in KU, it was very different like it is today. You'll be surprised that a room that can only accommodate 40 students, it is now forced to accommodate 200 students. Today, even issuing cards for students becomes very hard. How can you as a lecturer issue a card to 200 students? How do you supervise?
And this is where I get
the infrastructures in university are not even there at all.
They're not there.
You are forced to talk to students that are seated outside the class, and we are not even talking about that.
What are they doing outside the class? What are they?
It's just sitting room.
In that example that he has given of economics, that it used to be 40. Now it is about 300.
Exactly.
Paying fees.
Has tripled.
How? Explain to me how universities are going bankrupt. Explain to me. Because it was 40. The number of students that time, supervised by 1 lecturer. Right now, 300. Still by that 1 lecturer. Let me ask you, the lecturers who taught us about economies of scale, were they lying to us by telling us that when you take more people, you get the advantages of it? Mind you, the school fees does not reduce because you are now being served by 1 lecturer to 300. There is a conversation that must happen in this country. And that conversation, we tried to have that conversation. But as and when you get to the gist of the matter, you are stopped at some place. And let me tell you, it is not acceptable for sure. And that's why I say the buck stops with the president. And the buck stops with parliament. Do you know the apex of universities It is the university council.
Yes, it is.
It is the one that makes the decisions, is it? Talk to me about the appointment of the university council. It is not based on expertise. It is not based on anything. It is, come, my retired friend.
Let me give you something.
Come where I have married my wife, and there is a mzee there who had attempted to do something. Come, sit here in the council. It is not a thinking organ of the universities. And I dare say, university councils are not helping universities in any way. And this is what we are saying. When you hear young people disrespecting the old, it is because of what they have seen. We are looking at these people occupying offices, and we are wondering, please, even fools grow old. Are you people the ones who are supervising all this mess? Like, for an example, do you want to tell me this, the example that you have given, that 2,000 were on the payroll, you know, sort of idle, doing nothing? Do you want to tell me that that university council is not aware? Is not aware. And when you ask, who are these university council? It is not the young people of this country that have messed us. It is these same old people that want to sit here and talk to us about experience. Experience for what? You can have 20 years of experience doing the wrong thing. You know, you can have 20 years doing the wrong thing, and that is what they have done. And we are saying, can even Parliament think afresh? How can we enhance the recruitment processes of councils, for example? Can't we even have calls for, interest? People who are interested, industry gurus. How do you explain that a BCom sector is managed by somebody who has been retired for long, and they want to come in? What value are they adding? In a nutshell, you will suffer as lecturers. Why? Because you're not suffering because of your sake. It is the management of our universities that we have to call to order. When money is being spent in the manner in which we saw Moi University, I'm an alumni of Moi University, and I know that so many things have not been done in the right way. When you go and behold a gate, a whole university that is sinking thought that a gate was so important.
Spent 293 million shillings.
Million shillings. And you want to sit here and talk to me about experience, about people who have degrees ranging from here to the other place? No, there is a conversation that we have. And that is why we are saying there is a place. We are only going forward if we accept that there is a place of young people and fresh thinking in the management of every critical of our sectors. There's a place of young people.
And as you go to Mwalimu, I do agree, Janet. Experience is not competence.
Yes.
So we have to start now really dissecting and agreeing what skill sets do you need to run a country? What skill sets do you require to run a union? What skill sets do you require to be a lecturer? Because we are the peril, the danger of becoming phased out as one of the top ranking countries in Africa in terms of intelligence or matters education. Because the courses you are offering at the universities, they'll be obsolete in a number of years, because remember, the times are changing, the skills demand is changing. So that's a conversation that needs to be really discussed, and we allow people who are competent enough to occupy the learning spaces in our country so that we can have proper product and output. Now, Mwalimu, again, it comes out clearly that from what Janet is saying, the call for a strike is really not in Maluki's, Awasu hands. They're just being puppeted around.
Yes.
And then after a few weeks or a few days, we're going to hear them coming out being disgruntled.
Yes.
But we need to have a more serious conversation about this, the state of our education system. With whom does the buck stand? Because at some point, somebody has to take responsibility.
Yes.
At some point, policies have to be formulated.
The buck stops with the Kenyans. There's a part in the question that says that
We the people.
We the people are
Right.
supreme, right? Remember that part? You see, the problem, and somebody said it, I don't know if it was on this show, somebody said the problem with Kenya is that we have never gotten angry enough over some of the things that happen in this country. You see, what he's talking about, what Janet is talking about, most of these things you're talking about are true, and we know them. But we have never reached a point as a country. I've been a teacher in a school. I've been a board chairman also, even a school here in Nairobi. And one time, what happens is that the money coming from government does not come. We at that school had only one TSC teacher. So we as the board, we had to employ teachers and pay them. And we were paying so many teachers from monies that we are raising from the same parents. Yet the government keeps on saying that we have got teachers going to those schools. Now, this is what I'm trying to say. But the parents don't complain. The parents in that school I was were not even angry that the government is not sending their teachers to their school. We have not yet reached a place as a country. When we tried, the Gen Z tried to reach that level, we suppressed them. The day a Kenyan person will reach what we saw the other day in Nepal, and you know we are talking about visiting State House and what, we saw them burn the presidential quarters in Nepal. It has happened in Sri Lanka. Why do you think people will go and burn it? They've reached a point of no return. Kenya is yet to reach that kind of point. I told you I taught history. The French Revolution, this is how it occurred. It came after people now got fed up with everything that was going on. And that's why I support this kind of shows and Spice FM and some of the shows the conversations that have been going on this debate. They help to shape the people to know that you have some rights. There are some things you're supposed to get. Otherwise, these shenanigans of my brother from Wasu, he'll come here. Seth Panyako of nurses will also come here and make the same kind of statements. Oh, this is the grandfather of all strikes. But can I tell you in the next 3 days, and I'm saying it on this radio, my brother here will be back to class.
Is that so?
Yes, he will be back to class because he is not the main player. Wasu is not the main player in this whole issue. And I want to put it now clearly that's why Atwoli does how he does his things. Because Atwoli has also come to discover you as a union, we as a union, the people is bigger than the union. This is how it's bigger. If Atwoli has to fight for the workers that he represents, he has to think about the people. Atwoli has workers also in affordable housing. If he opposes affordable housing, do you know how many the construction sector, how many people it employs right now? Atwoli has got people in the health sector. Ridiculous. Do you know how many people work in the health sector who are also members of Atwoli's unions? So when Atwoli has to make his statements, when he has to come to this kind of radio and make a statement, he must think about also his workers who are also in the construction industry, who are also in those other industries. He thinks bigger than the picture is bigger.
I want to come back to
you. Doing so well until
you said you were okay, but so we're going a little bit here. So it's today. Strike is on today. Essentially, what that means is that learning at universities will be paralyzed because we're talking about academic staff. Academic staff includes lecturers, includes full-time lecturers, professors, adjunct staff, teaching assistants, all of this. Nobody will be at universities.
Yes, I want to assure you, Kenyans, that beginning today midnight, all public universities will down, all lecturers, professors in public universities, we are going to down our tools, and I assure you there will be no learning in any public university beginning today midnight. Up to and until our money is paid in full, or the world comes to an end, sir. I want to assure members that we are not going to call off the strike. We in Wasu, there's a way we manage our issues. Last night we had our full council that that analyzed the situation and the situation that was there. And there's no single person. I cannot just volunteer or the SG come and call off the strike. We are not going to do that. I will assure our members, wherever they are, that we are going to down our tool. This is a serious strike. But having said that, allow me to respond a few issues raised here.